Hey there, friends. Not exactly a heartwarming story to bring you guys today, but I do want to try to make some points with a very sad story coming out of Houston, Texas. And I have several different directions that I want to go with this story to try to make some points and show some clarity as to what's really being spoon-fed to the American people. And I mean lies. The AP story reads, two men who were seen on surveillance footage with a 12-year-old girl before her body was found in Houston Creek earlier this week was arrested Thursday in her death. Johan Jose Rangel Martinez, 21, and Franklin Jose Pena Ramos, 26, each face a charge of capital murder in the killing of Jocelyn Nungary. Police say the medical examiner has determined that her cause of death was strangulation. I would like to also remind you, just for the sheer fact of conveying how brutal and evil this crime was, the young girl was also raped by these men. This is a 12-year-old girl we're talking about, and she was raped by two grown men and then murdered, strangulated. And as you guys know, they talk about strangulation as one of the more brutal and personal ways to kill somebody, because you are literally staring at them in the face with your hands around their throat as you squeeze the life out of them after you've raped them. It was unclear if the two suspects had attorneys yet to speak on their behalf. Their names were not listed in jail or court records as of Thursday afternoon. Jocelyn's body was found in the shallow water of a creek early Monday morning. Police have said that she sneaked out of her nearby home the night before. Police said that surveillance footage showed the men meeting up with Jocelyn before walking to a convenience store with her. The three then walked to the bridge together where Jocelyn was killed. Police said it was not known if Jocelyn knew the men, who were roommates. The men were roommates of each other, by the way. The story's not real clear on that. Police said the results of a sexual assault exam on the victim are pending, which, again, we already know the results of that. She was, in fact, raped by the two men. So, first of all, really sad. Sad's not even the right word to describe this. I mean, sad is like what happens when somebody you know gets a really bad cold or something and they miss out on a family event, right? You can see in the surveillance pictures that it does not appear that the girl is scared of these guys, at least the one that she's walking with. She does appear to know them. She doesn't seem frightened. If you look at the center frame right there, she's walking side by side with one of them. So it appears that she either knew them or that she wasn't frightened by them. She doesn't seem like she's guarded or anything like that. She's certainly not running away, and she does not appear frightened or threatened. The reason why this story is important for us to talk about is the lies of the Associated Press and the AP. If you guys know a little bit about the media, journalism, and things like that, you'll know that a lot of these news agencies, especially across the country, that don't have local affiliates there to do their own reporting, they look to the Associated Press. That's why it's called that. They look to the Associated Press for stories that they can take and use in their own newscasts, newspaper articles, now on websites. So you'll see that this is an Associated Press story. You may see another website using it, but they'll always credit and reference the Associated Press. So this is kind of like a hub where a lot of the other agencies get their news. So it would be really important that they describe all the facts when they know them. These guys were illegal aliens. The Associated Press chose to leave that out. They say that they didn't know their immigration status right away, so they didn't reference it. They did know it right away. Everyone knew it right away. Once they found these guys, because this AP story is after they were caught. Immediately when you are caught, what do? Anybody. They check your record. They look to see who you are, and they knew who these guys were, right? They weren't like not trying to give their information. They told law enforcement who they were. So they had their names. A simple punch into a database tells you everything you need to know about a particular person, including their immigration status. So the Associated Press, although they say they did not know that, they did know it at this point. Because again, every other news outlet that did an independent story of their own that was not simply handing off the AP story knew that these guys were illegal aliens. In fact, I found a story from a few days ago, right after these guys were caught, that says Martinez and Pena both illegally entered the U.S. without inspection, parole, or admission by a U.S. immigration officer or an unknown date and at an unknown location. This is from the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. These people are not hard to find, and this is Houston, Texas. There is a main Immigration and Customs Enforcement office in Houston, Texas. So this information is not hard to find. In fact, with just a very minor bit of digging, I found that Pena Ramos entered the United States illegally on May 28th, 2024, and was released into the country after expressing fear for his safety if returned to Venezuela. He was apprehended by Border Patrol agents in El Paso, Texas. Naturally, that's where most of them and a lot of them are come across. And he was released with a notice to appear at court. So this guy, Pena on the left, had only been in this country for a little over 2 weeks and had already raped and murdered a young girl, a 12-year-old girl. Martinez Rangel came in March of this year illegally from Venezuela. These two guys were roommates at an apartment complex where they were picked up at. The media lies. The media lies on purpose. The media is in lockstep with the Democrats. The media is in lockstep with the Biden administration. The media is in lockstep with all kinds of corruption and cover-up when it comes to exposing actual truths. The media have really good investigative journalists, like really good. Like the cream of the crop work for the AP. These guys knew before anybody else did that these two men were illegal aliens. Again, it doesn't take a frickin' sleuth or detective to determine that these guys were illegals. Your average, everyday intern journalist finds this information like all the other news organizations did who did not repeat the AP's lies. The AP is guilty by omission. They did this on purpose. They purposely did not want to cast any more negative light out of all the other stories that we have with illegal aliens from coast to coast, raping, kidnapping, murdering people. Remember Donald Trump said that they're not sending their best? You can say what you want and call that racist if you want. Donald Trump was 1,000% right. They are not sending their best. These are Venezuelans who raped and murdered a 12-year-old. Let me ask you this. If you're so worried about Donald Trump saying that these countries are not sending their best, and you want to somehow say, oh, they're just cherry picking the few out there that are raping and murdering honest, law-abiding Americans. If you want to go down that road and say that this is a selective view of people just trying to be racist and talk about other people out there in other countries and immigrants or undocumented people, as they like to call them, not illegal. We call them illegal aliens here, and we always will. Nobody will correct us and change that. But if that is in fact what you think, that's why I'm calling them illegals, and that's why I'm agreeing that they're not sending their best, let me ask you something. Those of you on the far left who want to say that this is a place that these people are going for wonderful things for the United States, that we're built on immigration, and that all the wonderful, beautiful things that happen are all a result of these illegal aliens coming in. And boy, if we didn't have illegal aliens come in this country, we would just be an absolute mess. If they're not sending, or if you think they are, in fact, sending their best, can you give me a success story? Give me one. If they're sending their best, if they're sending their average, I'll take average at this point. Share with me a success story. I don't mean about somebody who properly groomed someone's yard. I don't mean someone who can properly fold a fitted sheet in a hotel. If they are truly sending their best, as some of you might think they are, share me a success story. Share with me a doctor, a lawyer, a successful business person. I don't mean a slinging dope cartel member or somebody like that. An actual legitimate business owner who's successful, an entrepreneur who's invented something, or just something out there that's going on that you might go, yay, illegal aliens, we need more of you. How many success stories have you seen involving illegal aliens? Make no mistake about it, these are Biden's illegal aliens. Biden's open border did this. Say what you want about any political party or whichever. George W. Bush was the same way. George W. liked these illegals coming in. These right here are a product of Joe Biden. They're coming here because they know they're welcome. They're coming here because they know nothing will happen to them. They're coming here because they know they will not get deported. And they're doing exactly what they are told to do. They're coming in our borders. They know that they're going to get caught and then get released inside our borders with, oh, guess what? Will you pinky swear that you'll come back to our court date in the near future? That's what Mr. Pena did. Only 2 weeks ago, Pinky swore that he would come back and have his day in court about crossing over illegally, and he still would have been allowed to be here, right? In the meantime, he got a little bored. Felt like he would rape and murder a 12-year-old. I'd like to say this. Now more than ever, we lead very sheltered lives, folks. Very sheltered. A lot of us live in bubbles. We see things like this, but let's face it, the communities we live in, where I live only 2 hours from Houston, but I don't see this kind of dirty immigration. You know, I don't see these guys hanging out, stalking 12-year-olds. That's just not where I am. Call it sheltered, whatever. It is what it is. I'm not in that environment. That being said, a lot of times when we don't see things, if we don't talk about them, going back to the reason why the AP left this out in the first place, but if we don't talk about them, sometimes it's out of sight and out of mind, and we do not realize those things are happening as prevalent as they are, and as often and as brutal. You know, a rape and a murder of a freaking 12-year-old, man. So we work inside our little bubbles. We have our own lives to lead. Sometimes we just have to keep our heads down and do what we have to do, and we don't notice this kind of stuff out there. And let's face it, sometimes we get a little tired of all the negativity, and maybe we ignore some of it. I don't mean purposely to not want to know what's going on, but sometimes we get a little tired of the noise and the negativity, and we're just like, you know what, man, I just want to have a peaceful day. I don't want to have to think about this mess. But I'm telling you that we have to. I'm telling you that this is a festering tumor of the worst form of cancer that this country has ever seen. These illegal aliens are doing a lot more than sucking the welfare system dry. Those of you who still want to continue to vote Democrat because you get your free cheese. Your free cheese is getting cut up in smaller and smaller pieces because there's more people eating off of your block of free cheese. So your own politicians are watering down the handouts that you're getting from the federal government. Just because more people come in does not mean that there's more to give out. It means that the existing piece of the pie is cut up into smaller squares, and you are going to get less because guess what? Pena and Martinez over here are going to get an equal share of what you're getting. So keep voting the way you're voting, and this will keep happening. Biggest thing is they are a threat, a physical threat to our community. People need to get a gun, train with a gun, learn how to use that gun efficiently and effectively, and carry a gun. Texas, you have constitutional carry. Use it. Carry a gun. When you see things like this, do not be shy. I don't mean shoot the person. I mean be well prepared. And when you see people approach young girls like this 12-year-old, I would feel better knowing that maybe there was a misunderstanding. And maybe I offended somebody that now I can apologize to and say, hey, I'm sorry, I was just looking out for the little girl. It's your daughter, whatever. Great. Y'all have a good day. I would feel better knowing that I temporarily offended somebody before I had a chance to apologize to them than go lay my head on a pillow that night wondering if that 12-year-old that I saw flanked by two what appeared to be much older men, that they probably were not her boyfriend and looked a little too young to maybe be her dad. But either way, I would not want to lay my head on that pillow that night with question marks in my mind going, I wonder if that girl's okay. And then wake up the next day and see these headlines. The Democrats will ramp up their efforts to allow these types of trash and garbage and gutter snipes to vote. You're going to see a ramp up of that. You're going to see, that's why the media hides these illegal aliens performing these heinous acts like this. Because the Democrats are going to continue to push and say that, hey, they're Americans too. That's why they don't want to call them illegal aliens or anything like that. They want to call them undocumented friends or whatever. They're doing that to try to soften your perception of what you think of them. I will tell you this. As long as there's one illegal alien raping or killing, I have no problem casting a negative light on every single illegal alien out there until this problem is fixed and these people are vetted properly. Because you are going to be guilty by association. Because again, you are not sending your best. Call it what you want to. I would rather cast a larger net and question everybody and catch 10 than not question anybody and let 100% of them come in and half of them are rapists and murderers. Guys, let me tell you something. I'm unapologetic about this. There was a time in the not so distant past, just a couple of years ago, that me, as an honest, law-abiding American, a U.S. citizen in this country, could not go to certain places within the borders of the United States because I didn't have a certain shot that the government wanted you to have. Meanwhile, the entire time our southern border was open and anyone without any question about any kind of vaccine, health, or any other kind of status, no question whatsoever, was allowed to walk in this country, no questions asked, come on in, go wherever you want, and we will not question you. And I was limited where I could go. So miss me with the please don't sit here and think ill of these people. When you treat people outside of my border better than you do me, and I was born and raised here, we got a problem. And I'm not going to agree to your twisted, convoluted ways just because it's the right thing to do in your eyes.
God save the Queen, man.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America.